Hi, welcome to the Property Show. My name is Nancy. This is the show that is sure to give you an in-depth look into the property market, provide you with expert advice, trends, tips, and first-hand information on the hottest properties available. There is something for everyone. A couple named Paul and Caroline are facing an issue that most Kenyans go through, which is when is the appropriate time to seek legal advice when buying a property?
Beecherville Acacia is located in Kitengela. It is a gated community of 3-bedroom fully detached.
I found this house yesterday and I have some pictures of it. We should probably start talking to our agent about how we can buy it.
What are we paying for? And who are we paying to? Paul, you don't just wake up in the morning and you decide to buy a home.
I thought we discussed this. We are tired of paying rent. Well, that's why I went to the agent. We can go together and take a look at the property. Come on, it's a clean deal. I don't want you to be stressed about it.
Have you forgotten what happened to Patricia? Do you know how many people are out there to con you? It's crazy.
Yeah, we'll talk to the agent. He'll give us a letter of agreement. But he said that's all we need.
Paul, what we need is a lawyer. We need to make sure that they have a letter of offer and agreement for sale.
Okay, sawa. But we also need to agree on how we're going to pay for it.
You've negotiated the price already?
Yeah, I worked out some details, you know.
Hey, we need to evaluate this thing carefully. Because we need to know if you have enough cash and if it's mortgage.
No mortgage. You remember what happened to Alex?
Alex did not read the contract carefully.
Okay, we probably will need a lawyer. You know, I just remember those hidden charges that they conveniently don't tell you about.
And we have to confirm that the person who is selling the land is actually the owner. I don't want to be like those other people who buy public land.
Yes, exactly. And I don't want us to end up proud owners of a road reserve.
But I still feel that we need legal advice.
Okay.
The dilemma that most people face today is when is it appropriate to seek legal advice when buying a property? In studio with us today is Mr. Peter Oibo, who is a commercial lawyer with Moreu Mongai and Company Advocates. Peter will help us demystify a few misconceptions that most of us have as to when is it appropriate to engage a lawyer. Welcome, Peter, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I'm very delighted to be with you today.
Peter, what are the preliminary investigations that I should go into when I'm buying a house?
I think the question you've asked is one that we will recommend to every prospective property buyer to ask themselves before they begin the search for the property. And there are 3 things I will say a prospective property buyer should evaluate. One is to look around, shop around for the property. This you can do either by visiting the available properties on sale or by use of a real estate agent. The second thing which you need to do, and unfortunately this normally happens too late, is to find yourself a lawyer. A lot of people go to the lawyers when they have already committed to an agreement. It is one of the things that we recommend to be among the first things you need to do as you continue your search for a property. Find yourself a good lawyer. A lawyer who is licensed with the Law Society of Kenya to practice law for that particular year. Once you've identified the property, you will be able to investigate the title of that property and confirm whether indeed it belongs to the person who wants to enter into a sale agreement with you.
What are the contracting instruments?
Again, I will go back to what I have said. You do not need to come to a lawyer after you have committed. Get a lawyer for yourself before you actually enter into an agreement, before you sign any dotted line. There will be 3 things also that I will think are important in contracting for purchase of property. The first one will be a letter of offer, where you will be offering to buy the property, or the property seller will give you an offer to purchase the property. The second item will be the agreement for sale, and this is a substantive agreement that sets out the main terms and conditions for which you will be bound under if you enter into the agreement to purchase the property. Now, depending on whether you will be buying the property in cash or you will be financed by a mortgage finance institution. If you are getting financing from commercial bank, you will then need to enter into a loan agreement and a substantive mortgage or charge agreement.
Peter, what do I need to know when I'm buying a property through a mortgage?
What I will need to bring to the attention of our viewers is one thing, that currently we have a new set of land laws that was enacted in May. They became operational on 2nd of May 2012. So they are barely, at the time we are doing this show, they are barely 2 months. The legislation is only 2 months. And the new land laws are so drastic in terms of the changes they are introducing in the market. And we expect, and we actually know that a lot of the banks are already reviewing their standard mortgage contracting documents. The net effect of that is that in the next few months, all the banks will have new documents for contracting in mortgages and charges. That notwithstanding, it is important for every property owner prospective property purchaser to negotiate with the bank and agree on a few issues. One is, what is the interest that he will be charged? The interest is pegged on the amount that you are borrowing. That is an important component. But more important is the fact that you need to talk with your bank before you even sign the agreement. Because if you talk to the bank and you only have 10% of the purchase price, and your bank later says that it cannot finance more than 90%, then you find yourself you're in problems. So another question you need to know, how much can your bank practically finance based on the property that you are purchasing? Again, the repayment period is standard, but you need to know that the repayment period, the longer it is, practically the higher you pay. But for a mortgage buyer, you will want an interest and repayment period that you will be able to manage. I think those are crucial when you are buying your property through a mortgage. Another issue that I would like to mention is the fact that when you default in the repayment of your loan, the bank reserves the right to sell the property. So you need to know from the onset what are these default clauses that have been entered into the contract. These are crucial. If you don't know them, you will sign the dotted line and you will be putting yourself into a lot of problems. And finally, just as one new legislation that has been introduced by the new land laws is the fact that for matrimonial property, you must get the consent of the spouse.
Wow, interesting. And what are the cost implications?
It is important to understand that when you buy property, it will cost you money. Money as a purchase price, which we've already discussed. There will be legal fees to the lawyers who will be representing you. And if you're buying through a mortgage, the lawyers who will be representing the bank in the preparation and registration of the mortgage documents. These costs will at the end of the day affect your financial position. So you need to understand them from the onset. I'll just give you a brief of what these costs will be. The first one will be the legal fees. Legal fees will normally be a percentage of the property that of the purchase price of the property that you are buying, or a percentage of the facility that you are borrowing from the bank. The highest it can be is 1.5%, subject, however, to a minimum of 25% when you are purchasing the property and 20,000 shillings when you are taking a facility from the bank. So the rates are provided for under the advocate admission order, and they are on a sliding scale. The minimum rate being 1% of either of the mortgage, of the amount borrowed, or of the purchase price. Another thing, Nancy, which we need to bring to the attention of our viewers, is the cost of stamp duty. Stamp duty is a cost that the government imposes on property buyers. The cost of stamp duty varies depending on the situation of the property that you are buying. If you're buying a property in a municipality, the rate of stamp duty is 4%. And if you're buying the stamp duty in an agricultural or rural area, the cost of stamp duty will be 2% of the purchase price. Stamp duty is also chargeable on other instruments, mortgages, charges, and debentures. Now, the rate of stamp duty for mortgages, I think the Minister for Finance in the previous reading of the budget, waived. He gave a concession to the Kenyans so that they can be able to borrow more. And the cost of stamp duty actually now is 0.1% of the purchase price. Other costs, which will, if you're taking the facility from the bank, you will also have to bear the cost of getting the consent, either from the Commissioner of Lands or from the City Council, or the person who owns the head lease of the property. You need to get the consent for them to allow you to charge the property. There will also be other costs of valuation for purposes of stamp duty. The amount you've declared as the amount for payment of the purchase price is not necessarily taken as a true value of the property. So those prices must be subjected to government valuation. So there will also be cost of valuation. And then we have the registration cost. These are the costs that you pay at the Ministry of Lands to have your mortgage, your transfer of land actually registered.
This is very valuable information we are getting from Peter. Do you know what to look for before signing a sale agreement? Well, we are taking a short break, but when we come back, Peter will take us through what we need to know. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Property Show. Before the break, Peter was telling us the basic steps we should undertake when buying a property, the legal documents required, and the cost implications. Right now, he will explain to us the ABC you should all know before signing the dotted line.
What should I look for when I'm signing a sale agreement?
When you sign an agreement, there are things that I will call fundamental clauses in an agreement for sale. Now, the first one will be the parties. Who is it that is contracting with you? You need to know if it is a limited liability company, if it is a sole proprietor, if it is an individual. The reason you need to know who it is that you are contracting with is to meet the essential requirements of contracts, which is that of capacity. Does the person meet the capacity to enter into a contract with you? That is the first thing that you need to establish as a prospective property buyer. Once you've established who it is that's selling to the property and that they have the capacity or the legal ownership of the property in question, you will then go to the next question of the price, the purchase price. How much are you paying to purchase the property? How are you paying the purchase price? How much is the deposit? The standard deposit for properties in the Kenyan market, as provided for in the law side conditions of sale, is that 10% of the property of the purchase price is payable on signing the agreement for sale. But with the new developments in the real estate, people are varying the deposit as and when they feel necessary. And that to you also as a buyer of property is something that you need to think about critically as to how much you are able to afford in terms of deposit for the property. Another item that you will need to consider is the time period within which the transaction will be completed. If you are a cash buyer, you have the money in the bank or you have it in cash, and so you will be able to complete the transaction within a very short period of time, then ordinarily you will take about 30 days to complete the transaction. Sometimes you will require the financing of a bank, and the process for bank approval of loans and registering of the mortgages will take a much longer period. Or if the property is not yet subdivided, and you will need to give time to the experts, the surveyors, and to undertake a subdivision of the property. Ordinarily in such transactions you will require at least 3 months as the completion period.